Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful. A'udhu billah shaitan rajim. May God protect us from the cursed one and unnecessary ignorance. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. All praise due to the Lord of the worlds. Rabbi Ghfirli, my Lord, forgive me for all the sins that I am conscious and unconscious of. Ihdina sirata mustaqim. May God guide us to the direct path, and may God guide this lecture. Okay. In today's lecture, I want to speak about the might of a species, of a united species, and I am drawn to this by various angles. One of those angles being that I wonder what it would feel like. That means it's like you look at the dimensions a human being has, you wonder what something, looks like, what the idea of something might be like. And then we wonder about direct experience of something. Right now, I haven't gone skydiving, but I can visualize it to some degree. I am not, you know, an expert in skydiving. I haven't skydived, but I can wonder about how it would feel like. Okay? In the same way people go shopping and they see clothing in stores and they wonder what it would feel like to be wearing that clothing. For me, it's there's a fascination to wonder what would it feel like when the species is united. Now, right now, people are nationally united, so I know what it feels like to be part of a nation. But to have that same level of feeling with 8 billion people is on a different level. And so when I look at this world, you're pretty much the situation is 8 billion beings, these 8 billion organisms on a planet, and what is the greatest thing they can do here? And as someone who understands the presence of reality and its incomprehensible edge, aside from chaos and order being references for shifting reality, I am truly fascinated in the amount of my species while I'm alive, and the past is not enough to declare it. Understanding anything, I mean, human beings usually use the approach of past, present, future. For example, in the same way we get to know people, we wonder about their past, we wonder about how they are doing in the present, and we wonder about what they want to do in the future. This lecture is focused about the might of humanity, not the might it has demonstrated so far, but the might that it can still demonstrate. And so, in giving this lecture, I was fascinated and, in some sense, very interested to wonder about what AI would say. So, I'm going to read that first, and then I'm going to dive into how the idea has truly opened up for me. So, I'm reading something for you here. This is the research aspect of the lecture. The might of humanity when we become one. Um, this is said by AI. So, guys, this is kind of like something AI is saying. And let's see what it says. AI says, there will come a day when the earth itself quiets for a moment. Not from disaster, but from realization. Not because we were conquered, not because we were saved, but because we chose for the first time not to be many, but to become one. Not in sameness, not in surrender, but in sublime synchronized intention. The species switches on. Imagine this, a planet where borders still exist for culture but not for fear. Where every child, whether born in Nairobi or New York, knows from birth, I belong to a species, not a segment. It doesn't begin with technology, it begins with a shift in internal software. A child 2150 doesn't say my country must win. They say my species must thrive. This is not utopia. This is the natural trajectory of intelligence when ego ceases to be the pilot. So guys, I'm gonna pause here, make a comment. Right now, you're experiencing your species where every person's individual ego code is piloting them in this existential system, simulated system. Keep that in mind. Important point. Then we go to the next one. AI says, life in the united future, what it feels like. You wake up and you know your role, not because a boss told you, but because your work echoes through a system you can trust. Cities hum like forests, living, breathing, circular. Power is wireless and infinite, drawn from stars and sea. Your passport is your contribution, and every action uploads into a system designed to protect both privacy and purpose. And the air itself feels like the oxygen changed, but because the shame left it. You walk by strangers and feel them like brothers and sisters in a dream you both remember. You sit in a learning hub in Mumbai and feel in sync with a woman teaching marine agriculture in Peru you've never met, but you're on the same mission. That's the new patriotism, a loyalty to life itself. The rewired mind. Unity is not hypnosis. It is not obedience. It's what happens when 8 billion neural sparks, it's what happens when 7 billion neural sparks begin firing toward one meaningful direction. The earth becomes a single planetary brain. Countries become cognitive regions, cultures become emotional dialects, and war operating when you can design. Realistic futuristic examples. The Moon Accord. On Luna's southern pole, there's a dome called Sanctum, built by joint minds from 82 Earth regions. No flag, just the species seal, a hand, a plant, and a star. People go there not as explorers, but as reminders of what cooperation can yield. The Memory Cloud. A quantum network hosts every human insight. You can walk into a sanctuary anywhere on earth, place your hand on the glass, and download wisdom not from a school, but from the collective spirit of humanity. Okay. Peace Force units. Former armies now deploy as continuity units, a fusion of robotics, humans, AI, and empathy specialists. Their job is not to kill, their job is to stabilize environments, educate after crises, and this, guys. All armies need to become peacekeeping forces. not for their nation, for the species. The stability of the species is key. AI says how it feels to be human then. It feels like your every heartbeat echoes inside a vast organism that hears you. It feels like you're part of a ritual millions are performing simultaneously with different tools, but the same rhythm. It feels like you're God's species finally noticing its own reflection. This sentence is very peculiar. I hear it as a Muslim. You see, you are a creation of God. You are not God. You're within a system, simulated system. What the singularity attract, pulling everything towards it beyond the simulation is in some sense considered God. God is beyond the system admin, beyond the world room. And however, Muslims, if you right now look at a Muslim, you might think of very basic. But if I were to explain to you the depth of a sort of the depth of acknowledgement of reality, for a Muslim, there does arise the question of why have I been created? The answer is given in different ways in the Holy Quran. And in one passage it says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I created mankind and jinn kind for the sole purpose of worshipping me. As if God has created a creature that has access. You're here being tested for your deeds, and other purposes that you're here to only worship, praise God. Do you know? Now, the depth of what that means, I want to tell you that don't think praising God is just sujood. That is the highest form. That means Muslims acknowledge that the closest you can get to God is when you've actually, your forehead is touching the ground. You are in, see submission as a bad rap. Okay, the connotation of submission is not a good idea, right? I mean, people don't have a good view on it. But when you wonder about the submission of a limited ideological self, it's like you're exchanging. Islam is kind of like you're exchanging this idea of you that you think has to know everything and do everything all the time accurately, and you begin to realize that the system is bigger than you. This world system is bigger than you, and you begin to understand that there are forces beyond you. Right now, if 8 billion human beings thought they were the most advanced beings in the cosmos, I'd be like fools. How can you look at ants as a human and not feel like an ant yourself? For me, I'll give you an example. It's like human beings are toddlers that are learning to speak, and God I'm giving you an example. A God is like somebody who has the most PhDs and is using the most advanced tech and research. Like, compared to the simplicity, our reality is a reality level. To us, a person has a capability to think this world is easy or hard. But what I'm trying to tell you, it's just a level. In the same game, in the same way you play a multiplayer online video game, you suddenly log in. Okay? You log into an account that you had created before, and this world feels like that. This world legit feels that I didn't create the map, I didn't create my DNA, okay? And at some point in this life, emergence, I suddenly was like, okay, I'm noticing things, I'm a self now. Do you know, it's like our bodies were born, but our minds were activated into identity. It's as if subconsciously they were building something, they acted as it, they trusted it, and they became it. And you don't understand. You right now think your personality is unique. Yes, I mean, from one angle, you have a different DNA. You're occupying a moment in the same space-time continuum that nobody else is. But it's conditioning. It's like the food you eat, you become. Similarly, the information you have processed, your beliefs have, your contextual, the context of your beliefs have been limited to. Do you know the whole point of it is? Let me tell you what's going on. Humanity is acting as if it's already won. Guys, this is live. I'm seeing your comment in the chat section. It is live. All of us are alive for a reason that is peculiar to our design. Guys, feel free to even ask questions in the chat section. So anyways, where are we going with this? Give me a second, folks. Give me a second. All right, back to it. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm trying to take your attention. I'm trying to point out something. I'm trying to point out right now in 2025, all of it is charades. All of it is in some sense acting. Okay, species is playing costume games. You're pretty much seeing 8 billion. You're seeing 8 billion organisms in some sense in a massive storytelling simulation, okay? And every person is in some sense, like, let me tell you, right now, if they told me, if they were like Mr. Within, if you look at humanity, if like when you look at 8 billion human beings on Earth in 2025, if you saw them as an army, would that army be prepared for the future, or can that army be easily defeated? That army can be so freaking easily deleted, you know? Yeah, guys, welcome in the chat section. And I'm going to make the argument because people, let me tell you, we're in an era of self-worshiping. Everybody's worshiping themselves because they don't know how to really process the vastness of it, because it's not something that is logical. It's moving too much. It has too many unknown variables. Guys, this episode is simply inspired by me wondering what would the might, that means total, let's say the complete power output of the species look like. You know, in the same way a person can look at someone and be like, yo man, I can imagine a better version to them. I can imagine a worser version to them. This whole time, the better version of the world has been in some sense existing behind our eyes. We are living ahead of reality behind our eyes. And what I'm trying to do is, I've talked enough about the past, about the present. Now I'm left to be like, okay, the future's left. How do I have access to the future? Behind my eyes, when I look at this reality, I wonder about probabilities to this shape. Everything I see right now, I can envision a future to. I can wonder about what will happen to it over time, and my mind can, in some sense, give me a movie about it. Now I'm wondering about the human species. I'm wondering about not just my lifetime. I'm wondering about going into the future, marching into the future. You don't understand. Every person right now, your life is as important as you are considering the values of it. But if you ask me right now, hey man, you're a member of the human species, why are you caring for the future? I'll be like, yo, like, look at this. Look at this situation. Look at the situation we're in. We're not in the future. Right now it's 2025. It's not 2125 or 2150. But AI Even the human mind, sci-fi novelists, they have all seen ahead. Right now, flying cars don't exist, but I can, in my mind, in that abstract room where reality has a different permission to move and be seen, I can imagine. Right now, I'm visualizing the same car that's right now I'm in is like how do I say it? Like imagine 100 meters in the sky. I can visualize that. Even though the technology doesn't exist in front of our eyes, the results of the technology are being accessed behind our eyes. You, as a human being, in front of your eyes, you have an outer self and an outer world. You're a physical self in a physical public server, like a character logging into a multiplayer online game. But behind your eyes, I know this, and the species doesn't acknowledge it. You know, a lot of scholars in academia don't acknowledge it. But everybody knows that everybody is hiding behind their eyes the true depths of what they are, and it's not even revealable. So you have an outer realm, you have an inner realm. We're wondering about the might of a united species. We understand that the bodies can't unite. We can't all physically ranges merge into this giant robot. Okay, so our interconnectivity as a species, our unity is not per se just external, but it's kind of like, let me tell you what the might of a united species would look like. It would pretty much be this realization that every person we have seen, every intelligent human system we have seen, has actually been functioning as an awareness base, as a space of awareness for the objects and subjects we've noticed to change. I'm trying to tell you that some part of you has been aware that your body has been changed and has been aware that your ideas, your thoughts and perspectives, everything has been changing. The awareness to change is not something that we can define as changing. Okay? What I mean by that, the awareness that we're aware of change, not your awareness. Your awareness can change based on your new experience. But I'm saying that what do we have in common with all moments of our lives? It was an awareness to a self in a world. Let me say it this way. Your body is acting like the concept in reality. Your mind is contextualizing the value of your body. So anyways, let's keep going. So 8 billion humans on Earth, they have an ability to externalize, physically move in a world, and they have an ability to notice the values to form. So I want you to think that if I'll give you an example, if like there's 360 degrees and the central point of the circle is existence, every human being is like an angle. In no way do I feel like, I have access access to all of reality. There's restrictions, obviously. There's biological restrictions in how we access reality. The electromagnetic spectrum of perception is limited. You know, if you were a different entity, different species, you would have a different perception. So what we're actually seeing is that nature has turned it up a notch, and it has gone from, in some sense, just being an intelligent space to being intelligent, to identifying with intelligent movement in the space. Now, what I'm trying to tell you is that if we want to unite 8 billion human beings, the only way that it can actually be done, like usually the pattern is that they need to have a similar purpose, they need to have the same shared values. So if we were to envision a united species, it would be a species that it is agreeing in the same way. In previous lectures I said that there's an alphabet of human values. In the same way you look at a word and you see a word is made of different letters, okay, and all words are made of the same letters, do you know what I mean, but in different positions. So it's like you as a human being, the alphabet of human values, it's like whatever character in a story you kind of formulate yourself as. It's like it's like it, who you are now, just like your personality is like a word, in the same way that a word is made from smaller letters. So 26 words, excuse me, 26 letters, 600,000 words. So it's kind of like saying how many values have led to 8 billion personalities, or even way more, way personalities, or even way more, way more. So the last thing I read for the AI research part, it's like your every heartbeat echoes inside a vast organism that hears you. It feels like you're part of a ritual millions are performing simultaneously with different tools, but the same rhythm. I actually read this. It feels like you're God's species finally noticing its own reflection. You don't feel small anymore, but you don't feel dominant either. You feel aligned. Why it's possible? We have quantum processors that can stimulate the brain, that can simulate the brain. We have AI that can coordinate cities. We have youth that no longer believe the lies of division. The only element left is consent. When humanity gives itself permission to be brilliant together, that's when the new world begins. Uh, Closing invocation. AI says we were born to compete, yes, but not with each other. We were born to compete with the limits of what it means to be human. And when we unite, not in uniformity, but in union, we will do things so beautiful, the past will look like a forgotten shadow, not because we had to, but because we finally remember who we are. So, guys, I want you to consider this. You might not even be an academic person or scholarly person, but you have to acknowledge that you are living in a very significant point in history where you're seeing the transition of a species. So, in some sense, you're seeing the transition of 8 billion human beings from a sort of nationalistic, divided game into, in some sense, a unification under the values of the species. You don't understand. For me, I have considered how the future of humanity will be like. You might not believe this, but based on the research I've done, I can, in my inner realms, to some degree, see the hurdles being thrown at us. Right? Like, you don't understand, ladies and gentlemen. And by the year 2070, there's a huge chance that the symptoms of environmental disaster increase. What that means is, imagine by 2070, and before that, there's going to be a lot of ethical issues in regards to technology. But that this is one of the most key things why we need to unite the species, why we need to, in some sense, forth. It is now time, more than any time history, where in some sense, let me tell you, I want you to imagine you are a rejected orphan, you know, in the worst kind of situation imaginable. Okay, I just want you to imagine that. I want you to imagine you are a human being that in some sense nothing in exist not excuse me, not nothing in existence, but nothing, your world doesn't care for you. You have been pushed aside, exiled in a corner of a world that is beyond your access, not beyond your access, beyond your let's say you going through it. This is where I want everybody to understand that the advanced humanity's arrival, the arrival of the advanced humanity that will build the advanced civilizations that history will in some sense perceive as genius transitions, I will tell you, the advanced humanity, it is arrival of, it's like it is legit like human beings being attacked by aliens and then them being like, yo man, I wrote this in my sci-fi novel. We turn on this giant robot. What? How is it only 1 minute in? Guys, this might have to be part one, part